So basically, I've got water here. I have the black and white paint. I have some matte medium. I've got an eraser, half of a Bondo knife, which makes a nice scraper, available at a hardware store. Another kind of a scraper, available on Amazon.com. And I just arbitrarily picked 2 chip brushes, a piece of old pastel, and one of those Lyra water-soluble 9B graphite crayons. So I'm going to start with, I think, the pastel, and just start putting shapes on this paper in an arbitrary manner. And I'm probably going to change tools partway through, so I can have a different thickness of line.
You notice how quick and intuitively she's moving.
And I'm going to change again and use my water-soluble crayon wet. You get an interesting line that way. And I'm going to try and fill the whole page.
With some of them going off the edge, and she's got mostly curvilinear lines in there, but she's got some angulars. So it's nice to have a combination for contrast. And she's overlapping.
I'm trying to thicken up the line a little bit with this tool. Make it be a little bit thicker. You can see what a nice effect you get with this 9B when it's wet. And some of these shapes are irregular, not recognizable as a known thing.
They're different sizes.
Yeah. So now I want to start obliterating. So I'm going to start with this eraser just a little bit and start smudging, obliterating some of these lines with an eraser, just arbitrarily. Then I'll take some of this matte medium and kind of smooth out some of the other ones.
The matte medium, what it does is it will kind of button down the smeary pencil or whatever, because it's like a, what do you call it, glue?
It's like a glue. Notice what else it does. You kind of smear this thing to a degree so that you're going to be creating a rich underneath layer. And the more you do this back and forth, you're going to have a really densely layered piece.
And if you don't do it on all of them, then some of them will blur
Right.
and smear, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. So then I'm going to take this half of a Bondo knife and take a little white paint and kind of obliterate some of them this way.
And you can put it on as thin or as thick.
Right.
So that you can see through it or not. But it's a way of starting to create the focus.
And I'm going to try this other scraper, which has a slightly different edge to it. So the effect will be different. And it sort of holds the paint differently. This is more rigid than the other one.
And even though she's kind of doing it randomly over, she's also kind of feeling where the image might be going. All these shapes that she's put on, she can start seeing there's the eye flow.
Right. And then what you might consider next, you could either I could take black paint with a brush, but I prefer to draw in with charcoal.
So you can start to see the fading lines and the lines on top. So that's the way to get layering.
And of course, you can layer this with a brush. I'm just choosing to use a scraper because I like scrapers. But let's try a brush too. Different effect. Then I could actually take the scraper and go like this, if I wanted to. And this is how you build up your surface over the course of time.
Does anybody have any questions on how to start using shapes, and also how to start playing with the shapes to think about how the composition and the eye flow is going to go? Do you want to
I can keep going.
Keep focus, get
Yeah.
a focus going, and you know your eye flows. You can see more how she really creates that structure for eye flow. Oh, that's what's happening.
Now I'm going to go back to my matte medium, I think.
So she's emphasizing certain areas, and then she's quieting other areas. Does that give you ideas on how to approach a painting? It's a really marvelous way to paint.
It's the way I paint all the time, and it's a very meditative process. It's a back and forth process, and it's, you know, it's things start appearing as you get farther into it that you would never have maybe dreamt when you first put the lines on. So it, you know, it takes a leap of faith and requires an open mind until you get to a place where it starts to emerge. And then you narrow the scope. You narrow your field of what you're doing. But that could be, you know, a period of a long time. We're asking you to do it quickly.
May I ask,
Yes.
at this point, are you already thinking about eye flow or not?
Yeah, I am. One issue I have is this is getting kind of wet, and so it'd be best if it just sat for a little bit. I mean, I can put it on the wall later and keep going with it in the afternoon or something, you know, to kind of show you. But yeah, at this point I'm thinking about it because I already have a lot on here.
And you have an area of focus up in the upper right.
Right, I'm
And
kind
you
of
also
going
have-
like that.
Yeah, you have
So-
kind of a diagonal.
As I would progress with this, I would emphasize that. And I would eliminate other things that would detract it from that. I would try to make it, you know, as non-confusing as possible.
So by starting out really free and not thinking and putting the shapes, and then just continue to erase and put white and obliterate, something starts to emerge, and then she follows that lead.
Right.
So that's the kind of journey of unknown, but at the same time, she's moving,
Right.
you know, trying
It
things.
controls me at first, and then I control it at a certain point in time.
Okay? Any other questions before we all try that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So take your 24 by 18 watercolor paper to do that with.
And if you want to work on more than one at once, that's good too, you know. So one can be drawing and you can work on the other.